Why do most people in Australia get stuck at 2 properties?
They get stuck primarily because they do this thing called negative gearing. So it's this silly thing that was sold in Australia, which funnily enough, nowhere else in the world does it. And they're actually look at us like, what on earth are you Aussies doing? Like, this is kind of silly. So I'll try and simplify this as much as possible.
Please go, because that was one of the future questions.
Okay,
What's
cool.
negative gearing?
Okay, cool, good. I love the questions you had. So negative gearing is essentially where Aussies focus too much on capital growth, right, which is the value of a property house going up, but they neglect the cash flow side, what we call the rental yields. Whereas in other countries, it's the other way around. They focus on cash flow too much, and then they don't focus on the capital growth, like especially over in America, right? And so what I teach is you actually need a balance of both. So capital, which is the value of the house going up, you need that in order for the cash funds to buy the next one. It's called pulling out equity. Because the average Australian can't save $100,000 every year to buy a property every single year. Like, that's fucking hard. Like, unless you're successful in the top 1% of business entrepreneurs, like, sure, they can do it. That's fine. And I've got a lot of those clients. But also the average Australian can't do that, right? It's fucking hard. They probably only earn $100,000, right? Well, the average wage in Australia is $96,000
before
or
tax.
something. Yeah, right? Yeah. So it's about getting that first deposit. But what they neglect in Australia is the cash flow side. And so they do this negative gearing thing. I don't want to go too much into the weeds of it, but essentially in late 80s, early 90s, the government brought out this thing to target high income earners to say, hey, you doctor, lawyer, dentist, you have a high income. We want to give you a tax incentive off this. So let's do this thing called negative gearing, which is like essentially where because your property is high growth, but it's not cash flowing, we'll give you these tax incentives off your 9-to-5 job. And it's so silly because all it's actually doing is locking you into your 9-to-5 job more. So it's where you're basically spending $1 to make 10 cents back. And it's kind of silly to do that. Now, at the start of when you're building a property portfolio, you typically need a high amount of capital because everyone starts off typically broke. So what we do is we plan that in to say, right, we need a bit now, but don't just focus on doing that as a strategy, like this negative gearing thing, because you're going to get stuck on 2. So we basically map out and make sure that you never get stuck in building a property portfolio. That's what we do. So that's negative gearing, high, very, very high level. And it's just silly to do that forever.